Quick little hike into a spot, another different river. Lots of people have been here. If you're watching this video from here, you're gonna guess where I am. And first time hiking to here myself. Let's see what we got down here. Interesting. Small feeder creek going into the bigger river, which is, I'm guessing, is going to be not too farther down. Anyway, it's a little chilly. I was frozen this morning in the truck, covered in ice. We're gonna see what's gonna happen here in a bit. Either way, fish or no fish, it's gonna be fun, right? Smells like rotten old salmon in here. Bears dragging up the salmon from last fall up through the woods. Now it's time for more emails. Cool setting. I'm in central Vancouver Island. I did my first light steelhead fish, had one on. And I'm going to go to another spot here in a bit, I think. In the meantime, I found some emails, some important emails I wanted to share. They're all important to me anyway. They may not be important to a lot of you out there, but this is all important to me. And, alright. Here we go, listen to this one. And hold on just for a second. So, just so everybody knows, there is, 5, 6, 7,000 new people subscribing here a month currently, and just so all you people know, I'm not a Sasquatch researcher. I'm not a cryptid researcher person. I am a professional big game hunting guide from British Columbia. Was born and raised in Vancouver Island, grew up in British Columbia. I've guided all species of big game in British Columbia and the Yukon. I've basically been hunting for, I don't know how many years I want to admit it, probably close to 40 years now. I've guided sport fishermen on the west coast of Vancouver Island, and what I'm saying to you is I've made a living in the outdoors. I'm passionate about it. I'm absolutely passionate about the real world, which I call the real world is right here all around me, and everything you see in the videos. And I have seen these Sasquatch beings twice, for sure. One very close, which changed a lot for me, obviously. I've heard them, and I found the footprints, okay? I have family members that have seen these things. I have friends, acquaintances, and 100% across the board, basically nearly every single person is scared of all of you, which is so wrong. It's ridiculous. You have people in your community who are seeing these things all over the world, and it's been going on since time began, and for some unknown reason, We're getting closer to that reason. There is more of an effort to keep this topic as a joke to most of you out there than there is an effort to let all you become aware of these frickin' things running around out in the woods, okay? I know a lot of people whose passion for the outdoors was absolutely ruined across the board from their experience. They won't go in the woods ever again. And that's really upsetting to me. It makes me angry. So that is why I am doing what I'm doing right now. That's why I am doing what I've been doing the past year now, I think. And I'm not going to stop. All right? There's now well over 3 million video hits per month on this channel. And not one person was invited here. This channel hasn't been promoted, but the door is wide open for everyone seeking out the honest knowledge from the people. That's where you get honest knowledge these days. You're not going to get it from any mainstream news source or any government official of any country. It's not going to happen. And that's why we're all here together, okay? So getting on with it, you know what? I've got well over 10,000 emails from people who've had the exact same experiences and some experiences that aren't so common and are absolutely alarming. So this channel is all about supporting all those people, sharing their knowledge with all of you, so all of you can be aware and all of you can have a fair chance at making your own decision of where you want to go camping or where you want to let your children play or where you want to live. All right? That's why this is going down on this channel. So, here we go. Hi, Steve. First of all, thank you for all you do. Keep it going. The world needs this more. People like yourself. I'm an OBS guy, though many would think I'm a joker since I constantly play clown and clown around on my YouTube channel. Anyways, what I'm about to tell you is as real as I can get. My name is John, and you can use my name. No man scares me in life, so I have no problem sharing my name or these stories. I've written to you before, but you must have gotten lost in the sea of emails you get, or spam, because I'm from Belgium, so maybe your email settings? But here it is. So I hope it reaches you well and your audience on YouTube. I'm from Belgium. You know, that little country in Europe, just a tiny speck on the map. We in Belgium have no history whatsoever of the dark hairy folk, though we do have legends about shapeshifters, werewolves, fauns, black dogs, witches, etc. But no hairy folk, though I do encounter all the things the majority of the Bigfoot Sasquatch channels are talking about. The branch twists, the breaks, the X markers, the crossing trees, the footprints, teepee, and other structures. But never the tree knocks or noises or smells, though. I've been photographing the things I saw in a little park and recreational / history area that people visit all year round called Borkrijk. Borkrijk? Bokrijk. It's always open to the public, every season, every day. Bordering all this are forests. We in Belgium kind of live in a huge forest, since Europe is all woodlands, rivers, hills, mountains, fields, farmland, and in between all that are many cities and provinces. You wouldn't really notice because Belgium is kind of a flat country until you get to the south where the mountains are up to 1,500 meters high bordering Holland and Germany and France, like the Alpine Mountains that pretty much are in line with our mountains in the south. I marked this in big letter because Yeti stories are mostly coming from the mountainous areas, so these creatures might travel to lower Belgium close to where I live as I am taking footage from things I find nearby. My question is, and I ask this myself a lot, so any help from you or anyone out there that is an honest man and knowledgeable is, are all these channels on YouTube just a bunch of wackos seeing things, and am I losing my marbles together with them? Or is this big furry fellow all over the place on our tiny globe? Anyways, my second story from Belgium was in '93. I must have been 10 years old. Family members and I went on a trip in Luxembourg, South Belgium. We went to some deep woods on tour with underground cave systems that reach as many miles underground and must be about hundreds of meters deep. But what I saw was above ground, some tall, orange-looking thing staring at me directly from behind a tree. Now remember that Harry and the Hendersons movie, and it almost looked exactly like the creature from the movie, but a more human face, covered in fur, I guess. No long hair except the bottoms of the arms and the bottom legs and under its chin. No visible chest or nipples or genitalia. It had a wrinkled forehead and a huge, huge face. That thing must have been about 8 or 9 feet tall. It was towering over a high branch, you know, the first branch sticking out from a huge tree, larger as any adult that was with me that day, and half his body behind the tree, still, only moving his face from left to right following my movement. First I thought, this is part of the tour, pointing at it laughing, but no one seemed to notice me because they were too busy with the tour guides. But I asked around, and the guides looked at me like I was making shit up and kept walking, guiding the group, telling me, ale, ale, in French, LOL, haha, to say, come on, move forwards and continue the tour. It was some prehistoric cave and woods tour we were on, so yeah, no one ever mentioned a Bigfoot or anything else weird. Years later, still no one that was with me ever mentioned anything, but I for sure as shit know what I saw back then. So I'm questioning reality here, but since I don't know what to think or believe anymore, because you claim so many channels on here are full of it, but I see the same things these guys see now in the woods. Here in the tiny Belgium, bordering cities, and lots of neighbors with lots of cities and people. We have a lot of cities and provinces here in Belgium, so I wonder if there are creatures all around. Would they also not bother and know they are getting close to people? I will send pictures with these mails showing what I find here, close to populated areas. And overall I wonder, are these the work of pranksters, the things I find, or all these Bigfoot channels just a bunch of crazy folk? The BFRO talks about stuff I see, but in mine and yours opinion, these guys are really the worst thing that can happen to the Bigfoot community, or just in general that believe in Bigfoot and are knowers instead of believers actually. These BFRO folk are no good. Though I do see what I see, so I'm questioning everything. I'll keep it shorter and send the Canada story another time. Well, I've sent it already, but maybe my emails end up in your spam for some reason, or you haven't got to them yet. Peace be with you, and hope people and yourself get anything out of this email. My best, John Telemans. Wow. Okay, thanks, John. I really appreciate you taking your time out to emails from the other side of the planet. And the only thing I can say to you is, yeah, these things are seen all over the world. And there you go. End of story. If you got forests and mountains there, you've got these beings running around in there. It's just a high probability. There's no borders. It's not even for certain if these things are here full time on the planet or not. Okay? That's about as much solid knowledge as known about these things so far. And there's numerous unknown beings running around. There's no way getting out of it. We can't make it up. Tens of thousands of people around the globe seeing the same shit aren't making it up. Alright, so what can I say? I don't watch other YouTube channels. I just don't have time. I think for anybody, I'm not going to go tell anybody what they should or shouldn't do or see or whatever. You know, when you're watching anyone on the planet, talking to anyone, watching a YouTube channel, you know in your gut whether or not you're wasting your time or whether or not they're credible or not or what their motive is. You know. It's just a matter of seeing through the bullshit, recognizing it, and then delete them and just don't give them that time of day anymore, and find people that are legitimately trying to help all the people. Alright? That's the only advice I can give to you or anybody else when it comes to other YouTube channels. Now, let's see. I gotta find these other ones I had listed down, but alright. Hi Steve, just want to say that I enjoy your stories and enjoy your book. I'm a Cree Indian, born in Saskatchewan, but moved to BC at the early age of 3 months old. From the early age of 4 years old, my grandfather would pick me up every day during hunting season and go out to get a moose. Of course, it was 99% road hunting, as I was too young to be walking old cuts or skidder trails. I spent thousands of hours in the bush with my grandfather. It wasn't until 1979, I remember the year well, because I was now able to drive legally. My grandpa would still pick me up each day after school, and we were in the bush every weekend, morning till night. We had our favorite spots to hunt moose and were successful year after year. I was allowed to carry a .32 Winchester Special, which I still have today, from the age of 7. I'm a big boy and I had no problem with the recoil of my gun, and I killed my first bull moose at the age of 8. Right on. Now that I was armed, my grandpa felt we could be a lot more successful parking the truck and walking for hours into old cuts to get into hidden swamps. One morning, an hour before daylight, 1979, we came to an old skidder trail that we walked many times that came to an old logged area that was like a magnet for moose. I dropped Grandpa off there and I continued up the road to another spot that was usually promising. I told him I'd be back for him in 2 hours, and he said he would be waiting up the road for me. By this time, being 16 years old, I was now carrying a 7mm mag. My grandpa always told me about bears and what to do if being charged. And my grandpa, being the wise old hunter he was, said, if being charged, dropped down to one knee so that I was the same level as the bear and would not miss if having to shoot. I never did know why he said drop to their level until I heard you talk about it in one of the videos. Yeah, it's a good one for everybody to know that one. Everybody I know has been chewed on. They shot over top of the grizzly when it was running at them. They're too fast. I walked into my spot where it was very quiet, found a good vantage point and sat over an hour. Only thing there was a cow with twins, and not being the rut yet, I didn't think a bull was hanging around and I had to get back to Grandpa, so I walked and proceeded to pick up my grandpa. He was very punctual and was always where he said he would be, but this time, when I arrived, he was nowhere to be seen. I hadn't heard any shots, so I was pretty sure he wasn't cleaning a bull. It was already 45 minutes past the 2-hour deadline, and with my grandpa being diabetic, I started to worry. The skidder trail he walked was only about 3/4 of a mile long, so I drove down to it to see where he was. He wasn't on the road anywhere, so I parked the truck and started walking to where I thought he might be. The clearing was approximately 500 yards wide and 800 yards long. I walked for about 10 minutes, not wanting to holler out his name in case he was on something. I noticed the extremely strong stench that I'd never smelled before, and I didn't think too much about it. The trees in the clearing were anywhere from 6 feet high to 12 feet high. It was a quiet day. From about 60 yards roughly to my left, I heard footsteps running away from me. I could not see much because of the rolling mounds in the clearing, and about 10 seconds later the footsteps stopped. I was curious, but still wanted to make sure Grandpa was okay, so I carried on. 2 minutes later I found Grandpa sitting on a stump, and he didn't look good. He was all pale, and because our complexion was quite dark, it was noticeable how white he looked, no pun intended. I said, "Grandpa, you don't look so good. Is it your sugar?" He replied with nothing wrong with my sugar, and he asked if I walked all the way in or did I drive. I told him the truck was only about 15 minutes away, so we started walking out. He wouldn't talk to me about why he was shook up, and then I mentioned that I smelled the most disgusting thing I had ever smelled, about a 5-minute walk from where we were. He perked right up. I described the smell to him, and he told him I heard, but did not see, something running to the tree line. He then grabbed me by the arm and said, "Be on alert, but if you see anything strange, do not shoot at it. Just keep walking." This scared me some, and I don't scare easily, but we proceeded to walk back to the truck. Upon arriving at the truck, someone or something broke the antenna and the windshield wipers off the truck. I was pissed. Being 6'3" and weighing 255, I was a force to be reckoned with when anybody tried to cause harm to my family or property. I did what I had to do to protect. I didn't hear a vehicle, so I assumed whoever this was on foot and started running as fast as I could toward the main road in hopes of catching the culprit before they got back to the road. 50 steps into my chase, my grandpa told me to stop. I went back to him and asked him why the road around the truck was all smeared. He said he didn't know. I told him it looks like someone tried covering up their tracks. And he urged me to get in the truck and get us out of there. The whole drive home, he never said a word to me, which was way out of character for him. I then talked to my uncles, which I hunted with, if not Grandpa, and told them about that day. My one uncle said he might have seen a sasquatch and started to laugh. My other uncle, on the other hand, was more attentive when I spoke of this. He told me that Grandpa had a terrifying experience when he first moved to BC in 1963. He went on to tell me that back then, Grandpa was alone in the McGregor area, northeast of Prince George, when he was approached by this creature while he was sitting overlooking a clearing. He went on to say that sitting there on the edge of the tree line, he could hear something approaching from about 100 yards in the bush and coming straight towards him. He thought it might be a grizzly because of the heavy steps, but was walking, not running. He held his position with safety off and then all at once he saw this giant thing on 2 feet, roughly 10 feet tall, only 20 yards away, that he hadn't noticed him yet. He sat quiet and still as a church mouse when this thing reached the clearing just 15 feet away, still unaware of Grandpa's presence. He was just looking into the clearing. Then, with a slight change in the wind, the creature locked in and was staring into my grandpa's eyes. He said it just stared, sniffing steady, and then dropped down to a crouching position. My grandpa was terrified with all this happening, not knowing if he was about to be pounced on, and he thought he was going to die. He slowly stood up from the stump he was sitting on, and the Sasquatch immediately jumped back up and roared right into my grandpa's face. He said he could feel the wind from his roar being so close, and his 270 wasn't much of a match for this thing. It stood there growling at him, but as soon as my grandpa lowered his rifle, it seemed to be a bit more at ease. My grandpa didn't know whether to run, walk, or just stay put. After about what he said had been 10 minutes, he heard something else way back in the trees making sounds he never heard before. The Sasquatch took note of the sounds and grunted one more time at Grandpa and went back to the trees where the sound was coming from. Needless to say, Grandpa ran like the wind to get back to the truck, which is about a mile away. I understand about ridicule people experience from non-believers because when my grandpa would tell people about what happened, they would all laugh and say he was nuts and shouldn't be in the bush armed with a rifle. My grandpa never spoke of this after telling about 8 people what he had seen and received the same response from all of them. Spending as much time as I did with my grandpa, I know he didn't lie about anything. Once I heard this from my uncle, my next trip to my grandpa was filled with questions from me. He didn't want to talk about it until I said, I believe that you saw what you saw, and I need to know what you know about these things so I'll have some idea what to do if I should ever experience this. He went on to tell me that he had never heard, seen, or smelled another one until that day in '79 when I found him white as a ghost. He told me that he reached the clearing about 10 minutes before daylight, and then he heard a fairly large tree break with no wind in sight. This puzzled him, and he decided to walk towards the sound thinking it might be a big bull scraping his antlers on a tree. When he figured he was close enough, he sat and waited a few more minutes for shooting light. Once he could see clearly, he waited for movement because he knew whatever made that tree break was very close. He then didn't see anything move and became aware that he was being watched. He started to panic because his mind took him back to his experience 16 years earlier. He stayed frozen on the stump he was on, and that's when he first noticed disgusting odor that overcame him. Now he's in full alert, and not 2 minutes later, another one of these beings stood up from a prone position not 50 feet from him, staring right at him. He said that it looked very perturbed that he was there and kept looking back towards the tree line. About 2 minutes later, he caught movement to his left from the way he came and saw another one of these beings, only about 6 feet tall. The big one that was beside Grandpa started making weird noises, and the smaller one answered it. The smaller one then turned and headed straight back the way Grandpa had came. While still in view of the smaller one, the big one remained until the juvenile was out of sight. He then walked right past Grandpa to within 30 feet and carried on the same way the juvenile went. Grandpa was in shock and couldn't get his legs to move. He said he tried but was frozen to the stump. He told me they must still have been close when I came walking up to him 2 hours later because of the stench I told him about. Hunting was his life, and he told me he didn't want to tell me about it before because he was worried I would not want to hunt anymore. He couldn't have been more wrong. My passion for hunting was the same as his. I would never let anything stop me from being in the bush. Sorry this is such a long story, but I've had one visual myself since, and I've heard them on 4 other occasions, but for another time. My other experience as well happened in the Prince George area, with one of them being before Chetwynd on Highway 97. Thanks for reading and keep doing what you do. Also, I'm a business owner in the Lower Mainland and choose for you not to use my name. Thanks, Steve. All right, man. One thing I'd like to say right off the bat is I absolutely appreciate you and the time you just took to punch that email out and send it to me to share with all the people out here. That's a very, very kind, generous thing that you did. I appreciate it. And your story is obviously the same as how many people now? And how many people are scared of people? And how many people out there in the population have got that instant knee-jerk mindset to laugh and ridicule people? And I'm sure we've all seen comedy shows, we've all watched comedians on TV, and I can guarantee you that the sentence, "I seen a Sasquatch today," isn't that funny. It doesn't make you laugh your head off. There's no comedic value there, right? From my observations of people now, when I see people laugh, it's absolutely from being nervous. It's from being scared. That's a knee-jerk reaction to people being scared, is laughing. And it's never a sincere laugh either. And of the handful of people that I've seen in a crowd, when somebody's asked me to talk about this topic, and somebody be listening and go, "What? You seen a Sasquatch?" And that's the kind of laugh that comes out of them. It's not a true laugh from hearing something hilarious, right? So let that be known to all you people out there that have been ridiculed in the past, or people belittling you and laughing. They're doing it because they're scared. They want nothing to do with this topic, and you can't really blame them either, right? Another mention I want to make is on, a lot of people I've been speaking to, they've been hunting the same mountain, the same area for like 3/4, half their lifetime with absolute confidence, never had a problem. And then one day, all of a sudden, one of these things showed up right in front of them. So, sometimes myself, I've got a couple spots that I hunt, and for some strange reason in my head, I have myself convinced that they don't go there. And I'm good right there. When the reality is, these beings are not on a schedule, they're not on a migration, they're not like a frickin' salmon or a herd of elk in wintertime migrating. For some reason, they're on the move. And they can show up anywhere at any time without any pre-warning or previous sightings. All right, and that is for certain. So it's probably good to listen to the experience these people are sharing, listen to what they heard, saw, and felt, and so that you can be familiar with those points if anything ever arises while you are in the middle of nowhere in the woods with your family, your children, or whatever, right? And then you can make the appropriate decisions to get your family out there and get home and get safe, or do what you have to do. But anyway, there you go. There's a couple more. Now there's another one in here I was hoping to find. Where is it? Okay, this is from a guy. All right, this is from a guy who emailed me from central British Columbia, north central British Columbia, where I have a lot of friends of mine who guide for a living, live up there. A lot of people I know hunt around these areas, and it's an area between Tumbler Ridge, Fort St. John. You can even throw, Tumbler Ridge, Fort St. John, to Hudson Hope, to Chetwynd, and even stretch it a little farther, Prince George. That entire area is popular hunting grounds and as well mining. But there are so many sightings there. It's just really brow raising, right? I'm lost at words sometimes. I mean, let's face it, I'm by myself all the time. It's not like I'm speaking a lot. But anyway, I keep forgetting to make mention. There's a fella who lives in my community where I'm currently living in Pemberton, British Columbia. And I was in my pickup truck outside the grocery store talking to a friend of mine. And this random person I've never seen before in my life just come up to me, goes on his phone like this, and then he goes, burp. And he puts his phone in my face, and he showed me a trail camera photo from the Chetwynd area. And I can tell it was fall for sure. There's no leaves left on the birch. And the lighting on the trail camera photo looked to me to be either last light or first light in the morning. And in the middle of the photo, perfect light, crystal clear, is a upright being covered in reddish brown hair, bolting across the open pasture, just come out of the birch, the poplars, whatever they are, the hardwood patch, and went ripping across this back corner of this field. And I looked at it, I'm like, well, there you go. There's another trail camera photo. And like I said before, as everybody knows, I don't get overly worked up about trail camera photos because they are what they are. I mean, you can showed the public a videotape clearly of a Sasquatch boogieing down a riverbed, and it just doesn't matter. All right, it doesn't matter when it comes to proving it to anybody that doesn't believe in the topic, which I do not worry about for the slightest. But if you, obviously this guy followed my channel if you recognize me in my truck, so if you are the fella and you're watching this video right now, and if you want to share that picture with everybody through me, email it to me at tell my story at howtohunt.com, or share my story at howtohunt.com, and email it away, and I'll share it with everybody here, and we'll let everybody have a go at looking at it and see what they think. But what it looked like, it just was your typical description. The thing looked big, covered reddish brown hair. I couldn't see any facial features. It was running from the right to the left, and it was on 2 feet. I'd have to have a closer look at the picture. Who knows how tall it was? It could have been, who knows? You need something out there to have comparison, but it was definitely looked big, right? So anyway, so what I was getting at was there's a fellow emailed me a while back, and he didn't want to share the story. And he didn't want me to share his name, didn't want to share anything. But he's a little troubled because he came from a long-time outfitting family, outfitting up north. He's just basically your typical northern guy, grew up hunting and fishing, guiding, outfitter family. They have private hunting property. His grandfather had a private hunting property, which I will not share the location. Once he shared it with me, I easily found it on Google Earth and had a look at it, and coincidentally I almost went hunting right above where that was last year, just by coincidence. So I'm not going to share that location, but this fella has had experiences right there on the property, and he wanted to email me, and and then he emailed me back and he said I could share the story and his name. And I wanted to share that for all the other friends of mine that live in that area up around the Chetwynd, Fort St. John, Hudson Hope, Tumble Ridge area, that whole zone, right? But anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'll share the email volley, but I think he backed out of sharing his name, which is fine. Don't blame me, man. Nobody needs to share the name, doesn't matter. Just wanted to share with you guys the typical email volley that I'll have. Alright, so it's going to be a little difficult because I got all the emails there in one line here. So here's the first one. Now, when I blank out things, I'm just blanking out location and name out of respect for him and his family. Okay? Alright, how's it going? I just found your email. It was actually... Oh, that's me. Okay, hold on. Okay, here we go. Steve, love your channel and all you do. Please keep it up. I was born and raised in Fort St. John while I still work and play and consider myself blessed to be living in such a beautiful area. And just so you know, that's not where he's seeing this thing. And that's not where the experiences were. I don't think I want you to share my story because it would be too obvious who it is. I'm an avid outdoorsman, have hunted, fished all my life, and I'm an outdoors at any excuse I can find. My family also has a cabin on the shores of blank, blank, blank in the blank, blank, blank. I would imagine you know the place. I know the place. The government made it protected and stole it from us. Okay, keep going down. Blah, blah, blah. I'm about to get your pilot's license. My story is pretty boring compared to what you're sharing. Nonetheless, I want to share it with you. Maybe have a logical explanation. My grandfather has a quarter section of property that he lets me run around on near blank, blank. In fact, it's literally directly across. Bink, bink, bink. All right, he just gave me the directions. I've always gotten out to this property occasionally since I was old enough to drive. I'm 31 years old now. However, in the last 5 years, since I got divorced, I've been out there constantly. I built a road down to the creek and opened up a nice camp there as well, done a lot of scouting. This is when I started camping out so that I could wake up. This is when I started camping out there so I could wake up on my hunting grounds. In the first year after I did all this work and was staying there a lot, I noticed I was beginning to feel uneasy in the dark when I was walking to or back from my stand. This was weird for me because I'd never been afraid in the bush before. Like suddenly my hair would stand up and I felt not only like I was being watched, but like something was very close to me, and as though if I turned my light and looked, there would be someone or something there. This caused me several times to just hustle to my quad and boogie back to camp. Anyway, I found a gusher of a good clear spring one day about 600 feet up the hill from my camp. So I naturally constructed a spring box out of a 40-gallon poly tank and ran a line all the way to camp. This is where my weird but probably insignificant story lies. One weekend, maybe a week after I installed the spring box, I was in camp at night and was hearing odd noises coming from that direction, approximately in the same location as my spring. They sounded like screeches. I remember pondering what they were, but also didn't think too much of it. I went home the next day and it was about a week before I returned. When I returned to check my spring hose, I checked my spring hose and found that there was no water coming from it. Well, I figured a bear must have found the hose and chewed on it. I followed the line up to the spring and it was fine. However, the spring box had been removed from the spring and was laying on the ground about 5 feet away. Though there was not a single scratch or tooth mark on that poly tank, I kind of just assumed still that a bear had found it. I reinstalled it and noticed while I was doing so that there were no other digging marks or tracks around to indicate a bear. Anyway, so the spring box is back and life's good. About 2 weeks later, I was back out there and enjoying myself in early July. I took a notion to go for a walk up to my spring and have a look. There was no problem, and the hose is running clear water fine. I had a somewhat well-worn trail by this time that kicked off my road into camp and followed the side hill to the spring. I was walking along my trail and suddenly was hit with a stench, a gross stench like something was dead nearby. I kept following the trail still until I found an obstacle. Suddenly, right in front of me was a great big pile of spruce boughs. They were piled right on my trail and stacked about eye level to me, and I'm 6 feet tall. The base of the pile is around 8 feet across. This shocked me. As I looked closer, I realized all the boughs were still green at the base and they had been stripped from the tree. I found myself trying to reason what animal would do that, what animal would have been doing this. So I started looking around the immediate area. I noticed right away that no spruce tree I could find had any boughs taken from it. I gradually developed a larger search pattern and eventually had a look all over that hillside with a distance of probably 150 yards and looked at every spruce tree I could see, which wasn't too many because it was mainly poplar in that area. I didn't find one tree missing, not a single branch, nor did I find what the hell was making that stink. I eventually decided this was incredibly weird, and it kind of alarmed me. I went back to camp but didn't go to the spring that day. I also haven't had a problem with the spring either. It has remained flowing. Though I haven't been out there in 2 months due to back surgery, it was following last. I was there about a month after this incident. Any insight you might have into what I encountered and heard and smelled would be appreciated. I find myself hoping that's not what I think it may be. Thank you, Steve. All right. So then I went on to reply. And I got to find that because the email that I replied is stacked up. And I said, "How's it going? I just found your email. There's actually a lot of Sasquatch encounters along there, especially near blank. I had a few experiences with them farther down the river where the big clear cuts start at the south side of the river, right across." Okay. I'm just trying to, out of respect for the person who emailed, I got to keep the locations private, okay? So I went on to say, lots of sightings in Tumble Ridge, Chetwynd, basically all over the damn place. I'll bet anything you ask around in a serious tone and people you know will start confessing. It's too common. Definitely a Sasquatch that dumped the spruce branches. They do that shit, I don't know why. Don't let it F up your time out there. They've been around the whole time. Just don't shoot when unprovoked. They're never alone, and they'll probably F you up. Be safe out there, Steve. And then he wrote me back again. "Steve, I appreciate your reply. Good luck with getting your big blacktail this season. The spot where my spring is located is kind of up a remote wedge of land situated up against a hillside that turns into vertical cliffs against a creek. It's actually the one piece of the property that I never ventured into until recently. It's like a 20-acre pie-shaped area. Would it be safe to say I've been told to piss off and stay out of that area? Thanks." Then I replied with, "When they want you to piss off, it's very clear, no question about it. I don't abandon much, I just leave when I feel the pressure, and I try again another day. Shitty deal, there's a large gray one and a large black one that hangs out where my damn deer is now and then. I'm not into the damn things. Good luck out there, Steve." And then he wrote back to me again, much later on, maybe a month or something, I don't know. "Steve, as I've thought about it some more, I just want to say feel free to share my story on your channel. My name as well. I believe in what you're doing, and I think it'll benefit all those who love the outdoors. I also understand that it's not interesting enough to share. Good luck again this year getting your cranker buck. As I've said, I've had back surgery and I can't hunt this year, so I find myself rooting for everyone I know and providing occasional advice. Again, thanks for all you're doing. You're a great man, and we appreciate you." And I thank you for those emails, man. I really appreciate it if you're listening right now. All right. And then I think that's when I recalled that I seen the photograph from that area on the trail camera photograph the guy at home showed me on his phone. And I recalled that I saw that and I wanted to get that out and share that with this email. And then I remember and it jogged my memory to hearing from this guy. And I remembered he emailed back and said I could share his story. And that's what I finally remembered, that I wanted to share that whole email, but I couldn't find it. And that's when I said a few YouTube videos back, I asked that guy in Fort St. John if he would share, just send me a message again, and I just got it, I found it, obviously, and thank you for that, man. And this is the last email I got. And again, I'm just giving you guys an example of how an email volley goes with me and somebody when we're not even thinking about all you or the YouTube channel, all right? And this is how it goes down. Good morning, Steve. I got your message last night in your latest video. Hope you and Sarah have been well. Here's our email thread for you. I'm a little uneasy again about name sharing, only because my family name is very well known in this area and the whole valley knows about this property, my family. Please feel free to share my name with your friends in the area, but maybe you'll keep my name off YouTube. Go ahead and share the story though, and I appreciate you saying you'll be careful not to give away the precise location. I'm also interested to know what your friends have encountered. P.S. My grandfather sat me down the other week and gave me his property. I can't begin to describe how grateful I am for that. Thanks, Steve. No way. Gave you the property. Lucky dude. I'm going hunting there. Kidding. But anyway, so there, I hope I read that smooth. It was a little difficult. Because the email thread started at the bottom and went way back up, and I'd pick the emails out of the middle of all the text. But what else has been going on around there? A lot. There's a lot of sightings around there. There is a pile of sightings around Chetwynd. There's a pile of sightings between Pine Pass and Chetwynd, between Pine Pass and Prince George. There's a shit pile of sightings along the Peace River. They're just literally, it's really going off around there this last handful of years. And probably since time began, who knows, right? But there's a lot of people from those communities around the Peace that are watching me talk right now. And there's a lot of you out there that have had experiences and you're definitely not eager to share them. But if you want to share them with me or even with everybody through my channel, you can email me at sharemystoryhowtohunt.com or tellmystoryhowtohunt.com, and I will get to them, and I will share them for you. All right? There you go. Anybody see anything behind me while I was standing here reading? Time to go to my next spot and catch a fish.